So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Allie. I am a doctor of physical therapy and a nationally certified Pilates instructor. I'm here today to give you guys a program on back pain. Our program is going to be 30 minutes as part of the Community Online Academy. And our program is going to be mostly movement-based. So there'll be some stretching, some strengthening. We'll talk a little bit about ergonomics, and I talk about sort of a different topic every week. Today, we're going to be talking about how to best squat and bend over and pick things up. So we'll do that, and then I will leave some time for Q&A. If at any point during this program you have a question, write it to me in the chat. I will read through the whole chat at the end of class, and then we'll try and answer the most common questions or all the questions if we have time. The one thing that I want to emphasize about this class is that it is for you and for your body. Not everything we go through is going to feel good for your body because your spine is different than your neighbor's and it's different than mine. So I offer a lot of modifications. Please take those modifications. The point of this is to feel good for you, so don't be afraid to take those if you feel like you need it. That being said, we're going to go ahead and get started lying down on your mat. So if you know when you lay down on your back that you feel a lot of pressure when your legs are straight, you can go ahead and bend your knees. Okay. And then just find a comfortable position to settle in. So I know for some people, you might need a pillow here, and that's totally fine. Just allow your body to melt down onto the mat. Maybe this is the morning for you. Maybe you're partway through your day, but just take a moment, settle in, let your head rest back, and take a breath. And as you lie down here on your mat this morning or this afternoon, notice how your body feels. Start to scan your body from the very top of your head down to the tips of your toes. And notice any differences from side to side, any spots of tension. And for now, just notice it. There is no right or wrong. And as you lie here on the mat, noticing how your body feels, see if you can bring your hands to your rib cage. So allow your hands to just rest on the top of your ribs and start to feel your rib cage open, expanding wide out to the side, and exhaling then to close, feeling the ribs knit together. Opening, feeling the rib cage open out to the side, and exhaling, feeling the two ribs glide together. Now, the reason we're focusing on this rib cage motion with your breathing is because our ribs attach to our spine. So the more flexible you can have your ribs be, it adds to the flexibility of your spine as well. So we'll try one more big breath like that, and I'm going to join you guys down on the mat. Good. So if your legs are all the way extended, go ahead and bend both of your knees, keeping your feet down flat on the floor. Now, bring your hands back to your rib cage if they were not already. What we're going to do is start to very gently introduce some movement into our spine. So we're going to start with a pelvic rock, closing the space under your low back and then opening the space under your low back. And I want you to notice the space between your ribs and hips. As you open and close the space under your low back, you should also feel movement between your ribs and your hips. And that's how you know that you're creating movement in your spine and not just movement in your hips. So this gentle pelvic rocking, it might start really small, especially if your back is a little bit stiff. But I hope as you start to move here that you can feel the movement increase gently. And I want you guys to still keep this comfortable. Keep it within what feels good for your body. We'll do two more. And one more time there. Good. Now from here, allow your arms to rest open by your side and bring your feet all the way together. Your knees together, your feet together. We'll start to introduce rotation into your spine next by gently rocking the legs side to side. And again, I say gentle, this should be comfortable. You only let your legs go over as far as you can without feeling any pressure or tenderness in your back. I encourage you guys to try and keep your knees together. That's what helps the stretch go into our back as opposed to into our hips. And as you keep your knees together, it's okay for your hips to lift, but I want you guys to try and keep your shoulders down on the mat. So nice and easy, continue that side to side motion. I'm gonna come up and just take a quick peek at everybody's form here, letting your head rest down, hang heavy. Good. That's it. And last time here, we'll settle right in the middle. Now from here, we're gonna get into our first strengthening exercise for our abdominals. Our abdominals are what support our spine all day long. They support our spine sitting, walking, standing, going up and down stairs. So as we work to strengthen our core, our spine should be still. So part of the core's function is to actually keep your spine still while you're moving. So what we're going to do is keep the hands on the front of your trunk so you can feel that your spine is not moving. And then bring one leg up to a tabletop position. So I've lifted my right leg off the floor and just hold it here for a second. What we're going to do is start to reach your right leg away from your body and bend it back in slowly with control, keeping the spine nice and still. Now to modify, you can push up a little bit higher. And for a challenge, you can press the leg down a little bit lower. But notice even those little micro movements under your hand. Your spine should be totally still. Now, if you feel like, yes, you can do this, you can keep your spine still, try lifting the left leg at the same time, still pressing that right leg out long. And again, you can press it long up high, you can press it long down low, and just notice the different challenge to your core. One thing I see a lot is the rib cage lifting up off the mat. Keep working to press the back of your rib cage down to hold you steady. 2 more. That's it, guys. 1 more time here. And place both of your feet down. You can rock your legs side to side again. Give your back a little rest. Nice work. So we're going to do the same thing on the second side, holding the rib cage down, keeping the hands right on the trunk. This time, bring your left leg up to that tabletop position. Slowly start to press your left leg out. And I think you guys will find that one side is much easier than the other. I find this side to be a lot easier for me. So just notice that. It's usually an indicator of what side of our spine is a little bit stronger. And now if you want to add in the opposite leg lift, bringing the right leg up as well, go ahead and try that there. Now, as soon as you lift the right leg, if your shoulders are up off the mat or you feel your head lifting, modify, push your left leg up a little bit higher. See how that allows you to keep the rest of your spine still on the mat. That's it. We go for 3, 2, last time. Nice work, guys. Bring your feet down and take a rest. Awesome. So we're going to go into our second strengthening exercise of the day, which is for our glutes, our hip muscles. And our glutes are really, really important when we talk about bending over, picking up heavy things, even going up and down stairs. And this is kind of come back later in class, so I want you guys to remember this. So walk your heels in close towards your bottom, push under your big toe, pinky toe, and heel, and lift your hips up to the ceiling. Now, like I said, this is a glute exercise. So bring your hands to your glutes, your butt muscles. Make sure that they're actually working. If you feel pressure in your back, I want you to bring the front rib cage down as though you're making the space between your ribs and hips smaller. So if you can imagine that space shrinking just slightly, that should help you feel the work in your hips. Now, you have the option to just hold this here. Otherwise, you can drop down and lift, starting to go in and out of that bridge position. So we're just bending the hips down, pressing the hips up, bending the hips down, and pressing the hips up. I like to imagine here my hips like a hinge door. So my back is nice and flat, The movement is happening by bending my hips in half and then pressing them up and straight. We'll try about 5 more here, just like that. Good. 4. Last 3. Awesome, guys. 2. Last time, lift up and hold, and then slowly lower your spine down. Now we're going to come up to a seated position, but I offer you guys a challenge if you would like to try this. So you can choose to just sit. If you want to challenge yourself, you're going to roll up to sitting. So start by stretching your body long, and then we're going to use our core, our abdominals, to sit ourselves up. So big inhale breath to get ready. As you exhale, curl the spine from your mid back, upper back, and then lower back, coming all the way on up. Nice work. Okay, so from here, we're going to flip to an all fours position. Hands are right underneath our shoulders, and knees are right underneath our hips. Now, if you have knee sensitivity, this is a great place to grab your pillow. You're going to place it right underneath your knees or fold up your mat a couple of times. If you have wrist sensitivity, you can lower down to your forearms. So we're going to stretch our hips a little bit here by starting to draw big circles. So our hip is a ball and socket joint, which means I always like to compare it to a golf ball on a golf tee. So you can imagine it can move in a circular motion. So we're drawing circles to increase the flexibility of our hips in all planes. And you can make this as big or as small as you want, but just work within what's comfortable. I don't want it to be painful. We're going to change directions here. Now, some of you are probably asking, why are we doing hip stretches in a back class? Our hips and our back move very closely together. And so the more flexible your hips are, the less stress your lower back has to feel when you do certain movements. And just notice the difference you might feel here inside to side. We'll do one more big circle all the way around. And then we're going to press ourselves back, this time trying to sit our hips back on our heels. If your feet are uncomfortable with this, you can always tuck your toes under and use your hands to support yourself to push back. If you're able to get down close enough to rest your forehead on the floor, go ahead and do so. That can feel good. And while we're in this position, take a big breath into your lower back. So try and send your breath down low. Use that breath to help expand your rib cage. From here, we're going to drift back up to our all fours and then lower ourselves all the way down onto our stomach. So once you're down on your stomach, right away, this might feel like some pressure in your back. And if so, you can add a pillow underneath your hips. The reason is because our backs often are used to being flexed, meaning we are bent forward the way we might when we're sitting. This is a position of extension. So automatically just laying here, it's a bit of a stretch for our spine. So you can go slow and add that pillow if needed. We're going to build on that stretch by pressing our hands down underneath our shoulders and starting to press our spine up slowly. Now, maybe you can only lift your upper back. You can always go ahead and press all the way up into your lower spine if that's available to you. I love this stretch, and it's one of my favorites. You'll see it in every class, but I encourage you guys to go slow with this. It shouldn't be pinchy or painful in your back. If it is, make your range of motion smaller. It's just a sign that your back is probably a little bit limited in this range of motion, and that's normal. Like I said, we spend so much time sitting. This is the opposite of that. So I think as you practice, as you build working through these stretches, you'll slowly get a little more tolerance to coming up higher and feeling more comfortable in that top range. We'll do 2 more. Awesome here, guys. Add one more time and lower all the way down. So we're actually going to roll to our side. And if everyone can roll to their left side, that way I can cue you guys about the side. We're going to make a little pillow with our bicep, or you can grab your pillow and add it in for your head here. And then bend your knees in close towards your chest. This is an important step. I want you guys to get those knees in nice and close, at least to the height of your hips. And the reason being is we're going to do rotation, but this time we want the rotation to go to our upper back. So we already did rotation for our low spine. This is for the upper part of our back. So from here, reach your top arm out in front of you, and you're going to tap your hand down towards the floor. Then reach your top arm up and over, and you're going to reach for the floor behind you. So very gently, you're just starting to add a little bit of rotation into your back motion. And if you have shoulder sensitivity, you can keep your hand on your chest. Because this is a back stretch, you don't really need your arm to get the stretch. You're just rotating your chest, but you can use that arm to make it a little bit bigger if that's comfortable for you. Allow your head to gently follow your hands, and we'll do 2 more on this side. Make sure that you're breathing, and 1 more time, and then we'll come back to the center. Nice job, guys. So we're gonna stay here for a moment, bringing your right hand to your right hip, and then stretching your right leg out long. So I'm gonna keep my left knee bent, stretch my right leg out long, and just hold it there. So we're going to go into another strengthening exercise, this time for the side hip muscles. Those are the muscles that support our spine when we're twisted, when we're moving sideways or quickly changing direction. So keeping that top leg reaching so far away, we want our spine to stay still and start to move that hip up and down. This doesn't have to be a big movement. Okay, I'm really not lifting my leg much higher than my hip. That small movement is a good strengthener for the outside of the hip. But the other secret little benefit here is that as you work to keep your spine still, you can get a little bit of core work at the same time. So we're trying to keep our spine still as a way to isolate the work into that top hip. You can always slow down your movements here or make them smaller if you feel like it's really hard to balance in this position. We'll do 5 more, 4, 3, 2. Last time, we'll lower all the way down and take a breath. We're gonna now roll to the other side. I'm just gonna sit up so that you guys can continue to see me here. And we'll come down on the right side of your body. So making a little pillow with your biceps, bending your knees in towards your chest, and allowing your head to rest down. So again, make sure those knees are in nice and close so we can focus the stretch to the upper part of our body. From here, left top arm is going to tap the floor in front of you and reach for the floor behind you. Now this is another one where you might have a big difference from side to side, and that's okay. Just notice it. It's normal, especially in the upper body, because we have a dominant arm, to have a big difference from side to side. And just allow your breath to be natural. Again, we're focusing that upper part of our back. It attaches to our ribs. I sound like a broken record here, but breath is really important to keep our spine flexible. We're gonna try about 3 more on this side, nice and easy. Good, you can always modify with that bent shoulder for 2. And 1 more time here. Good. Okay, top hand now to the top hip for our hip strengthener. You're gonna stretch that left leg out long, and I want you to reach it so far away from your body that you almost feel like it lifts your bottom rib away from the mat. Now keeping your hip still, we start to add that lift and lower. And it's nice and smooth. It's nice and easy up and down. It doesn't have to be big or long. And again, we're working these side hip muscles to give our spine support with those twisting motions or quick changes in direction. Even something like holding weight on one side of your body, but not the other. So unilateral work. We try 5, 4, 3, 2, last time. Come all the way in and press yourself on up to sitting. Good, guys. So the next couple exercises we're going to practice today are in standing. So if everyone can come up to standing, maybe adjust your camera. I'm going to adjust mine just slightly so you guys can see me here. Okay. So today's topic from ergonomic standpoint is how do we bend over and protect our back, or even better, how do we pick something up, something that's kind of heavy, and protect our back? And the answer is a squat. So I want you guys to practice how to do a really, really good squat. And the way we'll do that today is by bringing your fingertips to the front of your trunk, just like we did in the beginning of class. So you can feel the bottom of your ribs and the top of your hips. Now, in a good squat, we bend our hips, not our back. So theoretically, there should be no change in the space between our ribs and hips when we squat. So that doesn't mean our spine can't move. I'm going to show you here that it's okay for my chest to tip forward. But if you notice, the position of my back really didn't change. So I'm going to talk you guys through it. We bend first from the hips, sitting the hips backwards, then bend the knees. Press your hips forward and stand up tall. Hips bend backwards, bend the knees, hips press forward and stand up tall. So it's always hips first, then knees, and stand tall. Now, one of the common things I see as a mistake is when we get at the bottom, people say, well, there has been a change in the space. Often it's because the rib cage drops down to the floor. Can you keep your ribs lifted as though it's giving your stomach a hug and stand up tall? Ribs in, hips back, and stand up nice and tall. That's it. We'll do 3 more like that, guys. Beautiful. I'm going to take a quick peek at your form here. Try last 2. Good. Okay, and 1 more. Now, I want to show you guys one thing, and I think this is because everybody's looking at their cameras, but remember that your head is an extension of your spine. So if you go down looking straight ahead, now that has changed the back position. So you want your gaze to lightly float to the floor and then lift up when you stand. Okay, so just something to think about. Now we've got 1 more standing exercise. This one is a calf raise. So if your feet are firmly planted underneath you, slowly, you're gonna go up and down on your toes. Now, people are probably saying, why are we doing this ankle exercise in a back class? When you think about walking, running, stairs, the first thing to hit the ground is your foot. And we want our body to do some shock absorption. So if our foot can shock absorb, it is less impact on our spine. And so what I want you guys to think about while you're doing these calf raises up and down on your toes is like you're lifting and lowering on glass. So you want to lower yourself down slowly, lift yourself up slowly, gently lower yourself down. So if you can improve the strength of your calf muscles and their ability to shock absorb your body as you walk, as you run, as you go up and down stairs, it is less impact and stress to your spine throughout the day. And this is something I like to show people because it's so simple. You can do this when you're cooking dinner, even when you're watching TV, if you just have a few minutes to practice up and down. And I think you'll be surprised at how challenging this can get. You can really start to feel the burn in your calves as you practice. So I'll let you guys try about 2 more there. And then I'm going to come in so we can talk briefly about how do you use these exercises. So what I hope you guys take from today's class is that you do not need to do all 30 minutes of this program all at once every single day. But you can take little bits and pieces of the stretches and the strengthening exercises that you learned and integrate them throughout your day. So that might be every hour or 2, you do 1 or 2 of these stretches to break up your day a little bit. Our spines, no matter how perfectly you set them up, they don't really like to stay still. They like movement. And so I hope you guys find that with these little stretches that you can mix them in and start to add some regular movement throughout your day. So with that being said, I'd love to answer some of your questions. I know that there are a lot in the chat already, so I'm going to pull that up now and go ahead and see what I can answer. If you guys do have questions, because we're such a large group, write them into the chat. I'm going to read those and try and give you guys some answers here. Okay. So there's a couple questions in here about, is this session okay for scoliosis? Is this session okay for pregnancy? So as I said in the beginning, everyone's spine conditions are a little bit different. The best advice I can give you is to listen to your body and take these stretches in a smaller range of motion. It is appropriate. This class is appropriate for all types of conditions, but you just have to be an advocate for yourself and really listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, take one of the modifications. Specifically for pregnancy, I always recommend that you do get clearance from your doctor to exercise. But that being said, everything aside from laying flat on your stomach is appropriate in this program. Another question here, let's see. Will we be sharing these? I am going to post, thank you guys for the reminder. I'm going to add in just a moment the link where you can watch these videos. They're going to be posted indefinitely. You can go back and watch them anytime, including prior weeks. So how do you feel about popping a back? My lower back feels pressure and I twist to release. Is that an issue or just aging? That's a great question. Popping in your back is not a bad thing. I wouldn't encourage doing that regularly because often the position you have to put your back in to get that release it can be stressful to the ligaments in your back as well as the muscles. But if your back was to pop or crack during these types of exercises that I showed you today, that's totally fine. It's just a sign that you're getting some movement in your spine, which is actually a good thing. So let's see. When you lift your legs to the tabletop, how do I stop my hip from grinding? That's another question I get a lot. So when you feel pressure in your hips, or maybe you feel all of the work in your hips, it's usually a sign that your spine is not being well supported by your core. And so our core, the way that our body works is that our core should fire first to stabilize our spine, and then our extremities can fire. Our hips or our shoulders, our arms, our extremities start to move, but the timing should be core first. If when you lift your legs up, you feel all the work in your legs, it's usually a sign that the timing was off a little bit. So you didn't get that core piece on. What I recommend is either taking a minute to reset or scaling the exercise back a little bit. So it's just showing you that maybe that challenge to your core is too much at that point in time. Let's see, is there a modification for soreness being on all fours with your knees? I always recommend adding extra padding. Sometimes if you have an arthritic kneecap, the patella, it can be sensitive to kneeling. You can always add padding with towels, pillows, or rolling up your mat a couple of times. I think that's the best suggestion I can make for that. So let's see, do I have a good glute stretch? The answer is yes. I do often do glute stretching in this class, but I change this class a little bit every week so you guys can get a new experience every week. A lot of my previous classes do have some glute stretching, so if you guys want to go back and take a peek at those, I would recommend doing so.